This is why I joined the army.
Friendly, last operator standing. Op 4, last stop standing.
Hello everyone, my name is Blackwatch and welcome to another episode of How to Play. And in this week's episode we're going to be taking a look at Max Goose, also known as Mozzie. Sorry for just showing gameplay at the start, but I was pretty hype about that clutch. And I feel like after all this time hyping him up in terms of how I play him, it was really a chance to show you something decent with him. Been waiting to cover this guy for a long time, so enjoy. So Mozzie is like my favourite defender pretty much, apart from the good man Doc. He's a 2-speed, 2-armour operator on the defending side, and he's a member of the SAS regiment. That's a Special Air Service regiment in Australia, and he's a very, very strong operator for a number of reasons. His loadout consists of the Commando 9mm carbine and the P10 Rone submachine gun. Those are his two primary weapons. Commando feels a lot like the 416 for Jaeger. Very, very little recoil, very strong, has the sexiest reload animation in the game. There's no contest, my god. There's no contest when it comes to that one. It's pretty sick. And it's just a good gun, very strong. And the Rone might not have the highest damage in the world, but it's got a crazy rate of fire, so it kind of makes up for it in that sense. So both of the guns are perfectly viable. And then for his secondaries, he's got the super shorty shotgun, which is kind of a surprisingly strong shotgun, I have to say. It's a pump action shotgun that only has 3 rounds, but those 3 rounds pack a pretty hefty punch. And it's also some tasty utility for him to get around the map and make kill holes and all those joyful, lovely things that he can do. And his alternative is the SDB 9mm pistol, which is fine. But it's just a pistol, and when you have the option of probably the best secondary shotgun in the game, you got to take the best secondary shotgun in the game, let's be honest. There's no real contest in that particular decision when it comes to bringing it into the field, and it sounds incredible. I mean, the sound design in that shotgun is just A10, stunning. So, you're going to be picking out of those. He has barbed wire and nitro cell. Got to be the nitro cell for me. I like barbed wire, don't get me wrong, but nitro cell, whenever it's available, tend to go for that. And his unique gadget is the Pest launcher and the 3 pests that come with it. Now, pests are little spider drone things that are completely stationary when they've been launched to the ground out of the launcher, and they'll sit there with a radius that is shown when you throw the thing down. And any drones, either shock drones or regular surveillance drones that pass into that radius will be immediately leapt on by the pest and hacked, and will now become your drones for the rest of the round. These drones have the same colour of light that comes out from normal drones, or, well, defending cameras, so the blue light instead of the orange light or yellow light. I'm not going to get into that debate. And so they're essentially your fresh tool as soon as you grab them, and it also denies that attacker of their drone. It's particularly nasty when you catch a shock drone by surprise, because you can use it and you can use the tasers on it as if it were just your shock drone. It comes with the same ammunition count that it had when you hacked it, so if it's already been used half up by the twitch, you're not going to get it reloaded, but small price to pay. Now, things to note about the Pest are that they do have a short arming time. I don't have the exact statistic on how long the arming time is, but it doesn't go off immediately, unless, of course, you get a direct hit. So if you directly hit the drone, then it's going to instantly start hacking it. As soon as the drone, or as soon as the Pest jumps onto it, the only thing that can stop it from being hacked is if either an enemy or a friendly decide to shoot the drone mid-hack, and that destroys the drone and it destroys the Pest as well. That's the only situation that can deny the hack from happening, and the hack is also very, very quick. It takes less than a second to actually hack in and take control of the drone for you. Now, when you use the launcher, it doesn't have any arc. It's not like Capitow's flame bolts or anything like that. It's just a simple A to B, just like Doc's stim pistol. But just like Doc's stim pistol, also has a slight delay, so it doesn't instantly hit. It's not a hit scan thing. It is a projectile. It's hard to judge how far it's going to fly, but it does fly, and it's reasonably fast. So yeah, account for that. So his strengths, and there are many. He has a fantastic loadout, as I've already described. Very, very strong weapons, very, very strong gadget. He's kind of got a bit of everything there. And so that makes him very, 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 very frightening to go against. Then, of course, he has drone denial. It's always good to be able to deny drones, especially when it gets into the late game. Being able to take control of them on top of that, it's like you're taking something that would benefit them and you're flipping it around. It's not just that you're cutting it off, you're literally just throwing that reverse card down and going, that looks nice, but it's mine now. And if you can use that well and counter intel with it, it's crazy. Really, really crazy. It's like Dokkaebi for the defending team, but even better because you can move the cam once it's captured. The other thing is that the cameras are quite sneaky, because when you're an attacker and you see a dormant drone, you won't necessarily know if it's one of yours or if it's one of Mozzie's, and so that doubt can either lead to a camera being left alone when it's yours, or lead to it being destroyed. And on occasions like that, you'll sometimes find that people end up destroying cams that actually belong to their teammates or to themselves if they're really not paying attention. So it throws doubt into the mix, kind of like Alibi, but not to the same extent. And it's a nice way of basically giving yourself a natural camouflage by blending into the environment. People just expect drones to be there sometimes, especially when they're attackers. And so they might just walk past them thinking that one of their teammates has just left it. And there you are, you've got a camera that's still active, that's been passed by. Whereas if that was a black eye in an obvious position that was providing a lot of intel, it would instantly be destroyed because there was absolutely no doubt that that is a defending tool. Another strength is the fact that he's Australian. Australians are just funny for some reason. I'm not going to say that all Australians are funny, but in this context, this Australian is quite funny and he has some nice voice lines. So, yeah, it definitely goes in his favour. And the last strength that I can think of is one that I've already mentioned. That's his strength in the late game, being able to... excuse me, I'm still fighting off a bit of a cold. Being able to deny drones, and also being able to then take control of the drones and basically, as I said, flipping that intel around, and also providing intel passively through drones that he's hacked elsewhere to hopefully help your team, give you better calls. I know that there's quite a few clips in this video that would not have happened had it not been for the cameras being there and for my teammates being able to spot stuff that would have been missed if not for a cam that would last as long as the Mozzie drone. Weaknesses is a few, but not too many. He is just a generally very strong operator, and I found it difficult to pick him out, but he can just be ignored, and his gadget can be left with no value whatsoever. So in this situation, you're either going to have people who are very good at finding ways around your pests. On some sites, there are lots of drone holes that basically ignore all your attempts to put them in good high traffic areas. So that's one thing you have to deal with. And the other one is just people who will only use their drones in different situations and not drive them into your pests in the first place. So say you're attacking third floor of a cafe, you could end up just throwing them through the skylight and basically ignoring the fact that no one tends to put pests towards that bit. And it takes his ability and completely removes it, essentially. So you got to be careful for that. It can happen. You can have those rounds where you walk around and you've only hacked one drone, or if you're really unlucky, you've only managed to hack the floor with a couple of robot feet marks as your pest basically just spends all its time wiggling around hoping to find something to jump on. But it's not too often that happens. Even at higher level play, people do just drive their drones, they don't think, and then they get caught off guard, and that's you with your tool sorted. You can't put the drones outside. This is a weakness. It's not a huge weakness because you don't always really need to have cameras outside because they tend not to have as much continued value as cams inside the building. But it can give you an initial heads up as to where people are going to come from, and there's obviously some runouts that are completely predicated on the fact that you will have a cam outside if you're playing Valkyrie. But I still don't think it's bad enough to really take him down, and I still think if I was to compare the two operators, I would much rather have a Mozzie on the team than have a Valkyrie on the team, because I know that Valkyrie is a bit of a liability when it comes to winning gunfights because she doesn't have very strong weapons, whereas Mozzie is bringing some pretty mighty stuff, and also that shotgun is always helpful for the team and for himself. One of the other weaknesses, you can't always hide his drones in the best spots. It's not like a Black Eye where if you've got something out of reach that you just want to stick a cam in, you can still do it because you can throw it. With the drones, once they're hacked, you can't actually pick them up and throw them again. You have to drive them to wherever they're going to go. So you can do some pretty impressive stuff. You can do some hops and things and get them into positions you do want them to go in that are going to be a bit more difficult to reach, and you'll need to practice piloting drones to get in those places. But at the end of the day, you still have the limitations of a drone, and there are some spots, no matter how creatively you push yourself, no matter how hard you try to get the drone in there, it's just not going to go because it can't go high enough. So that's another thing. But I think his biggest weakness, and the one that I point out the most as the thing that causes me to have bad games sometimes, is just how slow his setup is. You've got to do your pests, you've then got to do your reinforcements, and then you've got to do your gameplay and your repositioning of the drones once you've hacked them. It's a lot of things he's got to juggle, and it's a lot of time that gets taken up by each individual step. It's a bit like Frost players and Capcan players. A lot of the time when you've got a Frost or a Capcan, you can almost guarantee that that means that you are down 2 or 4 in some cases reinforcements, because those guys tend to go out, do all the traps, and by the time the prep phase is over, the traps have only just been completed and they're not going to run back on site vulnerable, putting down reinforcements. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but I still think that most Mozzie players should be able to get it all done, because you can still be on a roam after you've done your reinforcements and done your pests and stuff, and then reposition your drones whilst you're roaming. It's not like you have to be in a specific location to work with the camera once it's down. The issue is, of course, trying to get it in the first place, but that's always going to be an issue regardless of how long it takes to do it. So some tips with the Pest and trying to make sure that those downtimes don't happen as much. It would be that when you're putting it down, you want to put it in high traffic areas. You want to put it in places where drones are more likely to go. Obvious ones would be doorways and stairways. If you're going to put it on the stairs, I would put it at the top landing of a stairway, just ahead from it, so that if someone's trying to go up the banister and jump off from there, they're likely to be caught by the Pest regardless. You don't want to put it right at the edge of the stair, because people will see it and they can avoid it, and the proximity alarm will be bigger. So you want to make it quite far in, but not too far in that they can still sneak past. Get a nice little balance, and you should be able to catch people off guard when they're coming up stairways. If they're coming through doorways, you want a similar approach. I know in these clips a lot of the time I put them just to the side of the doorway. This isn't always the best strat, but sometimes it will be. You got to try and find the balance yourself in how you're playing, and especially if you suspect there to be a shock drone, you want to make sure that they're at the side of the doorway, because the shock drone can destroy them otherwise. But if you do have one of those situations where that's not a concern, then you can obviously put it out just in the middle of the floor, slightly in from the doorway, so that the proximity alarm doesn't alert the drone drivers beforehand. Think about those positions that are good for viewing and for hiding. So when you've actually got the drones and you're moving on to reposition them, you want to have them somewhere where you get a good view of the action. You don't want to have it where there's a tiny amount of the actual picture that you're going to be able to use, or that your teammates probably more likely are going to be able to use. You want it to be substantial enough that they're going to get something out of it, but you also want it to be somewhere where it's not too obvious. There's some that you've seen here, probably, where it's out in the open, but there are just some locations where that is going to be the case if you want to get a certain angle. And as I said before, people don't necessarily notice the drones even when they're in an obvious position. So it's not essential, but if you can do it, then you should. Move them if you need to as well. It's much easier to redeploy these than black eyes. That's a strength I didn't mention. And so if you have them in a place and you're not getting any use out of them, then just jump on, move them. Don't spend all day on them. Don't risk your life when you're trying to do this, because when you're on cams, you're on cams, and you never know when a cluster charge or a sledge or someone just running into the objective is going to arrive. But by all means, take a little bit of time and just keep your drones fluid. But I would really recommend not spending too much time, or really much time at all, actually doing this, because the majority of the times when I have bad games as Mozzie, it's the games when I spend a load of the round just fiddling with the drones, instead of leaving them as an observational tool like a black eye, and just playing them like a normal roamer, semi-roamer, anchor, whatever you're wanting to take on with them, because you can do all three roles. It's just time wasted when you're sitting on the drone and repositioning it all the time. When you're going to take out the drones, or not take them out, but catch them with your pest launcher, I'd recommend leading your shots when you're chasing them. So that way you can catch them as they basically drive into the radius, instead of them driving past it before the pest arms itself. And you should also wait for them to jump, because if they jump at the right time, they can avoid the pest. So wait for the jump to go and then try and shoot them. Make sure you stick to the order that you should be following when you're doing your setup, and that is put your pest down first, then reinforce, then reposition, then play. Some people say that you should be keeping your pest until you actively see a drone in front of you, and then you should shoot it. Sorry guys, but this is too slow and it's too inefficient, and you're wasting time doing something actively when you could just hope for the best and do it passively. And 90% of the time you're going to get something out of the passive play, whereas the active play is, as I said, just too slow, takes up too much of the round, and it means that you're giving away ground that you could have been holding, essentially. Territory in time. And the last few things that I would have to say for Mozzie is that, as I said, he can roam and he can anchor, and one of the things that really enables him as a roamer is his shotgun. The shotgun should not be underestimated here. Obviously, as a weapon, it's not necessarily the best, but as a utility tool, and I've said this for Caveira before, opening hatches and being able to make kill holes and being able to make rotations is invaluable. So do keep this in mind, and if you are going to roam, you're probably going to have a good time with it, as long as you make sure you've got those escape routes, just like you would with anyone else. And keep in mind that you're a 2-2 rather than a 1-3, so it's not going to be the easiest thing to do. You're not going to be as fast, but you can still get it done. And you can use your gadget to your advantage. You can have them in position in places where you plan to roam, so that you can hopefully ambush with the intel you gather from your gadget. But I personally like to use them like I would use a black eye, but instead of using a black eye and having someone with crap weapons, I've managed to get someone with someone with good weapons and still a very good gadget that denies the enemy team something that would otherwise be very useful to them. If you're unsuccessful with your pests and you have some left in the little passive positions you've set them up in, just pick them up and then save them for active use later on in the game, or even set them up for late game denial. Say you're stuck in a clutch situation, there's only 2 entry points for drones, then crack one in each one if you've got them spare, and hopefully it'll catch that last minute drone out before the push, and then you'll be nice and safe and tucked up in your home and not getting killed by people. So sorry for the voice guys, as I said, I've had a bit of a cold and I've been fighting it off, and sorry for rambling on so much about how much I like this operator. He really is very, very fun, and I hope you enjoy playing as him. But regardless, it is nice to be back. This new recording technique that I've got will hopefully show a little bit of an improved quality for you in terms of how the videos look. Don't know if it's going to improve anything else, but I know for a fact that I've been recording at a higher resolution and I've been pulling them over much more quickly. And so that's why we've managed to get 2 videos in a row. So we'll see. We'll keep trying. But it's nice to be back. Thank you for continuing to watch my content, and I hope this guide has been up to standard. If it's not, please let me know. If it has been, also please let me know. And I've never done this before, but if you feel like dropping a like on the video, that would be much appreciated, because I'm trying my best to build momentum again to get us to a place where we were beforehand when I was uploading consistently. And so likes always work. If you like a video, your friend sees you like a video, and his friend sees you like a video, and on and on and on and on. It does work, guys. It's just that's the way the algorithm goes. So I feel like it's time to finally succumb to the fact that reminding people about likes and subscriptions and stuff can be helpful. But anyway, have a lovely Sunday, and I will see you guys later on. Do svidaniya, everybody. Bye-bye.